So I want to welcome everyone. The topic that we're going to discuss today is building a research toolbox. And briefly, let me run through what topics, the issues and topics within that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about contents and containers. Basically, that's what it comes down to when you build a research toolbox. You have to look at what do you want to put in it and what container, what toolbox, what format do you want to use. We'll focus most of our time, believe it or not, on containers because I think as genealogists and family historians, we're really good at finding those resources out there. But I think I'm going to turn you on to a few that are pretty amazing. I know that you're going to want to get the syllabus on the CD because I have all the hyperlinks, or you're going to want to visit my own research toolbox for a lot of these contents, and that's what we're going to focus on. Not as much as containers, but we will focus on contents as well. This is a big issue, and I could tell, Jeff, by the second poll where 20% of the people said that they have trouble finding stuff even when they're using favorites and bookmarks. We'll talk about how to keep them organized, how to keep how to easily access them, how to update them. This is a big issue for most people. Whether you're managing it through bookmarks, through favorites, or keeping them in a document or a website. The syllabus does come with a glossary for all the terminology, and I'm looking at the syllabus, and I think that, oh wow, I have almost, 25 links to different types of containers and ways to organize your toolbox. So the syllabus is available on the CD recording, and Jeff, that'll be available probably later today or tomorrow, correct?
Yes, that's right. Well, it's actually available to purchase immediately.
Right. Okay, yeah. Right, at the Legacy Family Tree Store, and there are 5 pages. It's my standard format, large type. I don't believe in small type. I'm too old for small type, and so why don't we get into the topic here? So basically, do you spend too much time trying to locate those favorite websites that you use for research? Now, have you ever sat down in front of your home computer or maybe at a library computer and you're all set to do your research and then boom, you can't find that wonderful website or that resource that you used last week or last month? I often have that problem, and it would be great if you could somehow build your own little toolbox of research resources that you could use almost anywhere. And that's what we're going to talk about. And we're also going to say, a lot of people have admitted, yes, you, organizing your bookmarks and your links. So building the toolbox, you can put more than just links in it. Don't forget, we're going to cover how to put maybe books that you find on Google Books or the Internet Archive. You can put PDF articles. You can put almost anything in your toolbox. And it makes it easy to have that information handy. I keep my research toolbox in many different ways. If any of you attended the Backing Up Your Genealogy Data webinar 2 weeks ago, you know that I do different types of backups. I keep them here, I keep them there. Same thing with my research toolbox. I keep it on a blog, I keep it on a website, I keep it on a flash drive, so I always have it handy. And then finally, what we're going to deal with also is, this is what we're dealing with, we're going to be happy, we're going to be ecstatic because we're going to have a research toolbox ready to go by the end of this webinar. Great. So now, I want to differentiate between what we mean when we say contents and containers. So contents reside in a container. Container is your toolbox. What I recommend is you select the best container for you before adding the content. And some containers don't work well for other people. It might work well for one person, not work well for the other person. I personally like to have it on a blog or a website. Some people would want it in a Word document or an Excel document. Some people might want it in favorites or bookmarks. There's no one best container for the whole genealogy community or for genealogists. It really depends on how you work. Every researcher is different. We all have different research habits. We also research differently, but we also have different needs. Some of us specialize in certain ethnicities, certain geographical locations. That's going to determine what our contents are. Now we're going to focus on containers. So again, you really should spend some time going through the container formats before you start loading it up with content. Now, one thing I do want to say, though, is that you can always change or upgrade your container at a later date. So let's say you start out with Microsoft Word as your container. You're going to dump your links in there, your hyperlinks. And then you find it doesn't work for you. You want to switch to Excel, a spreadsheet. Very easy to do. But I think it's important that you understand what the various types of containers are. So we're going to get started. One of the containers that you might consider, and I'm sure that we've all done this from time to time, is using a document. Using Microsoft Word, Excel is a spreadsheet, a text file, if you've ever seen something that ends in .txt, and basically you could dump information in there. I know a few months ago I had a bad habit of just setting up a text file, and if I found something I liked, I would just copy the hyperlink and dump it in there. Well, the problem is it really wasn't very well organized. I could never find anything. So what are the pros of using a document format? Well, they're easy to access, and they're basically easy to use. If you're familiar with Microsoft Word or Excel, Google Docs is another program, OpenOffice, StarOffice, any of those, what they call office productivity programs, they are easy to use, easy to access. These are the cons: difficult to organize and difficult to locate items. Now, my research toolbox has roughly 77 items in it, so I consider it a medium size. It is nowhere near like a Cindy's list with 290,000 links. But when you look at it, think about that. Cindy's list really is a research toolbox, right? Now, most of us might be saying, well, why do I bother? Why don't I just go to Cindy's list? Well, you have your favorites. So I'm going to show you some examples of what I do for Word and what I do for Excel. And we're going to link out here live to Microsoft Word. And I think that everyone can see this. This is basically, I'm going to turn off things. People don't like to see the paragraph symbols. But this is my research toolbox. And let's go over and see how it's organized. I've got a heading here for general research. These are the sites that I use the most. I do use Bing. I use FamilySearch.org. Big fan there. Internet Archive, the National Archives. RootsWeb has a search thingy, believe it or not. This is one that you're going to want to note. And you don't need to write this URL down right now, so those of you that are online, don't scramble for pen and paper. I'm going to show you an easy way to access my own research toolbox online. All of these links are available for free on my various websites. But the RootsWeb search thingy is great because, a lot of people don't know this, it does a comprehensive search of all of RootsWeb. I mean everything on RootsWeb all at once. And they actually, the funny thing is they call it the search thingy, which I think is great. So, and we'll come back here to Word. US Gen Web, give you an idea of what I've got. I also list other research toolboxes. Steve Morse, I consider the Steve Morse One Step a toolbox, a research toolbox. Look at this, 250 killer archives, Allen County Public Library, Family Search historical books, you name it. I've got calculators and tools. What if you want to calculate the inflation rate or how much money was worth maybe back in 1860 before the start of the Civil War? So just get an idea for what I've got here on my research toolbox, how I have it categorized. You notice within the category I have everything in alpha order because that's how it works for me. Census, courts, genealogical societies, I list the ones that I belong to and that I use the most. Illinois is an area that I specialize in for research, so I do have all of my Illinois resources here. Living people, this is one. I think, Jeff, I'm teaching this, I might be teaching this, I don't know if I'm teaching it for legacy webinars, but there's one called They're Alive, How to Find Living People. And I don't know, if it's not scheduled, you and I should talk about that.
Yeah, it sounds good, yeah.
And yeah, and it basically it's what I call forward genealogy when you want to find descendants, etc. New York, where I'm from, I do specialize in New York research. And finally, newspapers. Look at all these newspapers. Many of these are free sites. Photos, and then search engines, vital records, and volunteer projects, random acts of genealogical kindness. Now, go ahead, Jeff.
Tom, a question from Susan. She's asking, will this list be on the CD in your handouts?
The list, I can include it. I can do that as well, but it does exist on my blog and website, and it's never going to change or go away. But
okay.
Jeff, remind me, and I'll drop it in with the materials, and that's a good idea.
Wow, thanks, Susan, for your question.
Yeah, sure. And now, how would you go about if you were to, try and organize this? What if we wanted to add? What if I wanted to add, Jeff, Legacy Family Tree as one of my sites here, right? And so what do I have to do? Well, I have to make sure that I put it in the right place. What if I put it in the wrong place? What if I put it up here at top? And I do Legacy Family Tree. And then I have to remember, oh, here it is. It's bolded. I'm already having problems. So like that, to make sure I have it as a hyperlink. And then what do? I have to come down here. I have to cut it. I have to move it down here and make sure I move it to the right place. Can you see how this is going to be difficult to keep it organized? And what if I put it in the wrong category? Already I have an extra return up here, etc. So it can be a little bit difficult to manage these types of things, and that's one of the cons here. So I'm not going to save this. I am going to go back to my slideshow and show you the Excel version of this. Now, if you do feel comfortable working with spreadsheets, I recommend that you use Excel. The nice thing about Excel is it's easy to sort, it's easy to find stuff, and it's a little bit easier to organize things. And again, these are the same categories. If you notice, I don't have them bolded. That would help, right, to bold these things. One danger that you run into is, what if I'm saying, oh, I want to sort these. Boom, I sort these A to Z, but what do? I get a lot of my headings are in here, sorted in here, and it says books and libraries, but wait a minute, this is not a book or a library. So you can see how it can be difficult to manage in Excel as well. So I'm going to undo this. People don't know the undo function is you hit Control-Z, as in zebra. In most programs will do an undo for you. That's a little hint that I learned. And Control-Y is a redo. Control-Z is an undo. And I use that all the time. And I found that it works even on some websites. It's amazing. So let's go on to a different container here. File Manager Applications. Now, I have a Windows